Hey, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are embarking on a fantastic journey through the history of literary criticism, especially focusing on unit number 2 of MEG-5 block number 1, Overview of Western Critical Thought. Have you ever wondered how people started analyzing and judging literature in the first place? Well, this unit provides the answers, laying the essential groundwork for understanding all the critical theories we will explore later in this course. Understanding the evolution of these ideas is like building a strong foundation for a house. It's absolutely crucial. So, let's travel back in the time and see how Western critical thoughts developed. Now, let's discuss about ancient Greece, the foundations of Western criticism. Our story begins in ancient Greece, a cradle of intellectual inquiry that gave birth to many of the ideas we still grapple with today. When we talk about early literary criticism, two towering figures stand up: Plato and his student Aristotle. Now let's discuss the Plato's philosophical critique of poetry. We are going to discuss on Plato. Plato, a philosopher deeply concerned with the truth and the ideal state, had a rather critical view of poetry. His philosophy centered around the theory of forms, which suggests that the physical world we perceive is just a shadow of a higher realm of perfect and eternal forms. Plato saw poets as imitators. They imitate the world around them, which is already an imitation of the ideal form. Therefore, poetry according to Plato is twice removed from the truth and could even be misleading. He was also concerned about the emotional power of poetry, believing it could stir up undesirable passions and distract citizens from reason and virtue. In his Ideal Republic, Plato famously suggests that poets might need to be carefully controlled or even excluded. Aristotle impacts responses and the politics. Enter Aristotle, Plato's students who took a more practical and analytical approach. While he agreed that portrayal involves mimesis or imitation, Aristotle saw it not just as coping but as a creative process that could offer insights into human nature and the world. His seminal work, The Poetics, is considered the first systematic work of literary criticism. In it, Aristotle analyzes different forms of poetry, particularly tragedy. He breaks down tragedy into 6 key elements: plot, which he considered the most important, followed by character, thought, diction, spectacle, and song. Aristotle explored the structure of a well-made tragedy, emphasizing the importance of a complete and unified plot of a beginning, middle, and end. He also introduced the concept of catharsis, the purging of emotion like pity and fear that the audience experiences while watching a tragedy. Aristotle's approaches was more descriptive and focused on understanding the principles that make a good work of literature effective. Now let's discuss the Roman era, practical guidance and rhetoric. Moving on the Roman era, we see the Romans largely adapting and applying the ideas of the Greeks. While they didn't produce as much groundbreaking theoretical work as the Greeks, they offered valuable insights, particularly in the terms of practical advice for writers and the art of rhetoric. Now let's discuss about the Horace Ars Poetica. Horace Ars Poetica, or the art of poetry, is a key text from this period. It's more of a guide for aspiring poets, offering practical advice on various aspects of writing, from choosing the right subject matter to structuring a play or poem. Horace famously emphasizes the principles of decorum, meaning that the style, language, and the subject matter should be appropriate for the genre and the characters. He also highlighted the dual purpose of poetry, dual et utile, which translates to please and to instruct. For Horace, good poetry should not only be enjoyable but also offers some form of wisdom or moral lesson. Now let's discuss about the Longinus and the concept of a sublime. Another important figure from this period is Longinus, though the exact dating of his work on the sublime is debated. Longinus focuses on the qualities in writing that elevate the soul and inspire awe, what we call the sublime. He identified several sources of the sublime, including grandeur of thought, strong emotions, appropriate use of figures of speech, and noble diction. Longinus shifted the famous slightly and strict rules to the emotional and aesthetics impact of literature. Now move to the another section of this video, the Middle Ages, allegory and religious interpretation. The Middle Ages having influenced by Christianity, so literary thought primarily serving religious purpose, the focus shifted towards interpreting texts, especially the Bible, allegorically to find deeper spiritual meanings. While there wasn't a great deal of original literature theory produced in the same vein as the Greeks and Romans, the dominant mode of interpretations involved seeing literary works as conveying religious or moral truths through symbolic representation. Now, let's talk about the Renaissance, rebirth of classical learning. The Renaissance marked a significant turning point with the rediscovery and renewed interest in classical Greek and Roman literature and thought. This rebirth of classical learning led to the flourishing of arts and literature, and with it a renewed engagement with the critical ideas of Plato, Aristotle, and Horace. The rise of humanism, which emphasizes human potential and achievements, also influenced literary themes and perspectives. We also see early defenses of poetry emerging during this period, such as Sir Philip Sidney's An Apology for Poetry, written in the response to Pyrrhonical critiques of literature. Now let's discuss about the neoclassical period, rules, reasons, and order. The neoclassical period, roughly spanning the 17th and 18th centuries, saw a strong emphasis on reasons or adherence to classical models. Thinkers of this era believed in establishing rules and principles for good writing, drawing heavily from Aristotle and Horace. They valued critically balance and universal truths in literature. Key figures like John Dryden and Alexander Pope contributed significantly to critical thought during this time. Dryden, for instance, explored concepts like dramatic unity while emphasizes wit, precision, and the importance of following established forms. Now let's discuss about the 18th century, from reason to sustainability. As the 18th century progressed, while reason remaining important, there was a growing interest in individual experience, emotion, and imagination. This period showed the rise of idea about taste, are subjective appreciations of beauty and the sublime, which focused on the awe and terror evoked by powerful experiences, particularly in nature. These shifts paved the way for the Romantic era, which would fully embrace emotions and imagination as central to both the creation and appreciations of literature. Now let's discuss about a glimpse into the early 20th century, seeds of modern theory. While unit number 2 primarily focuses on the period up to the 18th century, it's important to briefly acknowledge the late 19th and the early 20th century witnesses significant intellectual and social changes that profoundly impacted literary criticism. New fields like psychology and sociology, along with evolving philosophical ideas, began to influence how people thought about literature, setting the stage for the diverse and the complex theories we will encounter in the next unit. And there have you it, a world tour through the overview of Western critical thought. We have journeyed from a philosophical inquiries to ancient Greece, through Roman practicality and the allegorical focus on the Middle Ages, the critical revivals of the Renaissance, the rule-based neoclassical era, and the emerging emphasis on sustainability in the 18th century. Understanding these foundational ideas is crucial because they have shaped the way we think about literature or for centuries and continue to influence contemporary critical approaches. In our next video, we will be diving into unit number 3, which explores the exciting and diverse developments in 20th century literary criticism. So, stay tuned and thanks for watching.